I still don't know where to look. Um, Melina's approach to writing fiction resonates with mine. I really like the idea that, like, yeah, there has to be a reason something needs to be fiction. A lot of stuff that I work on, I like writing fantasy things, but ultimately there has to be a, a grounding in reality, some sort of relationship or some sort of self exploration, some universalist type of theme. So then, why does that need to be fiction? And that's an area that I that resonates with me from him. So, in terms of the novel ideas section, this particular week I looked at Wally Lamb's, and one of the things he mentioned early on was using cards to put down different scenes. And I know it's more of a screenwriting type of tactic, but I certainly think that it applies to fiction structure, really any narrative structure, to be quite honest. But I've done that in the past. I like doing that. It helps me see things and keep track of them better. Um, Sorry, I'm looking at my monitor. I have notes. One thing he did a little different. He discussed bringing chapters to writing groups, but that's only after he's kind of really pounded on for a long time. I like bringing things to people um, when it's kind of like just has the studs on it, to be honest. And okay, here's the idea. Here's kind of the structure of this, and does it make sense? Can you see how this is working? At that point, after that, after I get some sort of confirmation of that's when you put on your drywall and your paint and start really fleshing it out. What else did I have? He also mentioned there's no difference. He said he was very little aware about the story when he starts, and interestingly, I know that was a thing I read about in an interview with George R. R. Martin before. Same idea that if I know where it's going, then I get kind of bored with it. I'm not advanced enough to operate in that fashion, so I usually kind of start with an idea that's either a climax or the end of something, and then I start building out from that. What else? Experience the reader of fiction. Um, I really enjoy fiction where there's a surprise. I don't want to be like a contrived one, like, oh, it turns out the killer was the butler. But I always cite Angle of Repose and how in the very end of the book it wound up being about something completely different than you thought it was about. And that takes a lot of thought and a lot of architecture to be able to execute storytelling like that. And so I think that's something that I always look for in fiction is that the real elaborate construction. I personally like that. In terms of how my process has evolved over time, I don't BS myself anymore. I used to always think like if I've scribbled some notes down or I thought about this in the car or what have you, that counts. And the reality is it doesn't. One of my favorite quotes from undergrad is that only writing is writing, and I do like that's why I in the goofball and I keep a spreadsheet of the number of words I work on and things like that, because only actually doing something gets you towards the finish line. So that's what we have.